Are you always coming up with ideas? Do you marvel at successful business owners? Do you hate being told what to do? Ever take things apart just to see how they work? Are you a dreamer? If you've answered yes to any of these questions, this podcast is for you. Welcome to the Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. But first, a word from our sponsor.
Pro Tapes and Specialties is the world leader in tape manufacturing and specialty conversion with over 40 years of experience. In addition to our pro brand of high-quality specialty adhesive tapes, we provide contract converting services that help improve your profitability, streamline your supply chain, and reduce inventory cost. We offer the most complete range of converting capabilities in the industry, such as cloth tape, double-coated tape, specialty tape, paper tape, masking tape,
vinyl tape, carton sealing tape, adhesive transfer tape, duct tape, foam tape, electrical tape, filament tape, foil tape, reflective tape.
And the tape just keeps on rolling. Visit us online today at www.protapes.com or call us at 800-345-0234. Pro Tapes, it's just how we roll.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Entrepreneur Enclave, Life's Coming Attraction. I am your host, Kevin Wortham. We're going to talk about, as always, the entrepreneurial spirit. I've got my dear friend Roland Pott on the line. Roland, how are you, my friend?
Doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So the last time we spoke, we got in some real good conversations. But since that time, man, you're doing some great things in and around the city of Trenton. And I wanted you to kind of give us an update. I think that the last Facebook post I saw, you're doing some work on, what's that street? Not, I want to say Patterson, but it's not. It's oh my God, it's downtown. Gee whiz.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I had posted a video, a short video.
Hanover Avenue. Thank you.
Yeah, Hanover, on West Hanover and Montgomery. I posted a short video, just sort of giving an overview of some of the redevelopment that's happening in that area.
Yes.
Because there is there are a lot of new projects that are underway. Some more in the planning stages, some under construction. But it's nice to see, downtown Trenton have some new investment in it. Obviously, there's still challenges with downtown Trenton, and we're looking for ways to increase investment in the downtown and bring more private sector jobs into the downtown and bring more residential units that will bring more people living into the downtown with discretionary income to spend at our retailers and our small business owners' stores. So it's a mix, it's a complicated mix, and then of course there are redevelopment sites in the downtown that are waiting to happen, and some of them are heavy lifts. So it involves public-private partnership to get them off the ground. But there's definitely opportunity there. It's a lot. It's an area that is built out in the sense that the infrastructure is there. But there's a lot of sites, buildings in need of rehab, need of rehabilitation and work to be done. So I'm excited about the downtown, and there's, I think there's some hope on the horizon.
Now let me stop you, and I know you are closer to these projects than I am, but what is the one initial spark that we need to kind of get downtown in that area moving? What's the one initial spark that you're using, or perhaps we need to start looking at to get things moving?
Well, I wish there was a silver bullet, but I do think that as we say in the industry, retail follows rooftops.
Yes.
And I think that there was a time when Trenton's population was bigger. There was more people living in downtown Trenton than there are now. I think we're at in the low 90,000 person range for Trenton and for the city of Trenton in the last census count. which is up from in the mid 80,000 range in the prior census. So population is going up in Trenton, which is definitely a positive.
Yes.
I don't know that those numbers are concentrated in the downtown. I think it's probably more Chambersburg and other parts of the city where the largest population growth is happening right now.
Okay.
But the downtown has, high-rise construction that can be occupied, renovated and occupied.
Yes.
And, a lot of people, talk about the good old times, so to speak, when there was a better shopping district downtown, in the sense that people didn't go to the malls on Route 1, they went to downtown. And so you hear that story quite a lot, especially from folks that whose parents or grandparents lived in the area and they remember those days. But I think that that can happen again. Downtown can be a viable shopping district, but as we say, retail follows rooftops, and so it comes down to getting the numbers of people, and getting people with some household income that they can go that they can go shop downtown. I mean, there's also creating destinations and creating reasons for people to come downtown. But again, to answer your question simply, what is the number one thing that can help to bring the downtown back? I think the number one is just creating a significant number of new residential units and getting them occupied, so that there is a large enough community living downtown that is supporting their local shops, and as opposed to the downtown being more of a destination or something that is frequented only by daytime workers that leave after 5, which is really not sustainable. For it to be successful, it needs to be a 24/7 district, and I think that's the number one thing. So the answer again, comes to the number of units.
No. So I understand that, but here's my challenge, and here's what I think the spark is: entertainment and art. Entertainment and art. So I'm on Facebook quite a lot, right? And people may hate me for saying this, but if you're up North Jersey, there's this thing called house music, right? House music.
Yep.
And almost every major city up North Jersey, I mean, now since the pandemic is lifting itself up, right? Every Wednesday through Sunday, there is some house event or house music activity going on in those cities. And so I'm saying art and entertainment, right? Art and entertainment. We should be able to block the downtown area off from maybe on a Wednesday, but certainly from Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We get some food trucks in here. We get artists from all over the Mercer County area to display their wares, almost like pop-up shops. And we get the music going. It doesn't always have to be house music; it can be jazz, but it has to be that. I think art and entertainment is going to be the spark that's going to bring us back. Because I mean, and you know this better than I, we are in a fight for our lives right now. It is so competitive now that the pandemic is opening up, that if Trenton doesn't have what I want, I can get in my car, I can fly someplace, and I can be someplace else. I'm on Facebook, and you'd be surprised how many people from Trenton, they're in Punta Cana, they're in Brazil, they're in the Bahamas, so they've got money. So we've got to be very creative in terms of getting them downtown. And I think that art and entertainment is going to be that spark that's going to drive them, man.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, art and entertainment is so important, and there's so many different kinds of art and entertainment. I mean, house music is festivals, and the house music is cool because it gets you moving, gets you out of your seat, it's something. It puts you in.
But it's also, not to cut you off, Roland, I'm sorry, but it's also an older crowd, and it's that crowd that's got disposable income, right? But even if we didn't do house music, I'm just house music because I'm biased, but we need to be doing weekly activities surrounded by art and entertainment, because because here we go again, right? Because once the winter comes, Trenton is going to dry up again. So whatever momentum that we're going to have, because we don't have those businesses that are already situated here, it's going to dry up again, and we're going to be back to having the same conversation again. And so I don't know, but let's do this though. Let's start all over. Who is Roland Pott, and how did Roland Pott become Roland Pott? Because I think that's an interesting question.
Well, it's funny to tie this to the last question about arts and entertainment.
Yes.
I mean, that was really kind of always how I started. I in college I was an English major. I wrote a creative thesis that was a group of poems. I was always interested in art, and in high school I was the editor of the literary magazine. I was that kind of kid that was into art, into writing, into creative ideas, and but I was also very kind of entrepreneurial, and I was always into like trading baseball cards and and that kind of thing. And so I think that when I got to Trenton, the whole idea of these beautiful historic buildings and how they could be renovated, and the sort of the artistic quality of that,
yes.
And the aesthetic quality of it, combined with the opportunity for cheap space for people to be creative in, and that Trenton affords that as well, and so that was always kind of what excited me about Trenton, yes. And so that's I think at the core of like what's inspired me to be in business for myself,
yes.
And I think over time it's expanded also just to think in terms of just providing service to others. So I mean, over the years I've also grown a real estate brokerage business, but again, at the core of the brokerage business, it's I like to take on sometimes difficult and tricky marketing projects, and I love to work with developers or with people that are trying to buy their home for the first time, and those are some of the clients that I actually enjoy working with, just because of that reason, that it's inspiring to help people who are making their way in the world, or who are trying to make a difference in the world. And that it's a reason to get up out of bed in the morning and try to make a difference.
Absolutely. I think that do you feel like as an entrepreneur your creativity is stifled in this city?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, when you say siphoned, I guess it depends how you define that. That is an interesting term. I like that. It's very thought provoking, because sometimes the word siphon could mean taken, siphoned off and taken away. So I try to stay very rooted in the town here, and live here as well as work here. But so yeah, tell me more about that in terms of what you're seeing and how that relates to entrepreneurialism.
Again, I think what I'm trying to say is, you look at Trenton as this wonderful slate of opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And here you come with all this energy, great vision, but you don't necessarily always have the right private-public venture mix to make things happen. And to me, I don't see why we're not moving by leaps and bounds to do things, right? It's like, I had to go to New York the other day for a meeting, and I didn't realize that we don't even have a McDonald's anymore at the Trenton train station. I mean,
wow, that's news to me as well. I thought
we don't have a McDonald's at the train station anymore, and then on the back end, right where the taxi cab stands used to be, there used to be a wonderful pizza shop. That's not even there anymore. And so I'm saying, like, what are we doing what's going on? What's in our water? What's in the infrastructure that we can't hold on? And then we go we go 5 miles away into Hamilton, and everything that we thought we would want to have, they've got it at their train station. And I don't, and now sometimes people, they won't even park in Trenton to go to New York. They will skip Trenton and park in Hamilton to get on the train to go to New York. So this whole issue about being the capital city, it's like you understand that, but do the people in other places understand that you need to work with, that need to share and hear your vision, that this ain't working?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's important not to conflate the issues, though, because I think you bring up some good points, but I think that in many ways those are two very, very could be seen as different issues. So, the pandemic, obviously, the question of retailers choosing to locate within the Trenton Transit Center. I don't know. I haven't spoke with the reps from McDonald's or the owners of the pizza place over there, but the number of people and just the number of people passing through that train station, in other words, the number of commuters that are using it, obviously took a huge dive and continues to be less now that more people are working from home, and more people are just not. Even employers that are back up and running with the pandemic are oftentimes in New York and Philly in those office buildings telling their employees that they only have to come 2 or 3 days a week. If that, some of the large corporations have even said that they're shifting to work from home altogether. So, that obviously affects the numbers and the viability of a place like a McDonald's or a pizza place in the train station. And it's that particular location is obviously not a destination to go and dine. It's an amenity to travelers. So I think that any kind of closures in that space, and I definitely think that they'll revamp in one way or another to meet the current demand. But I would think that would be very much related to a macro economic situation related to work from home and from the pandemic and less commuters in general. It's obviously a bad look for Trenton in what was a significant upgrade about 15 years ago when they when they revamped that Trenton Transit Center with some federal dollars to upgrade it. And so you never want to see a place closed in the train station. But there, I don't think the retailers in Penn Station are doing as well either. So anyway, just to play devil's advocate, I think that there are macroeconomic trends. Now, how can Trenton benefit from those trends? I think there are aspects in which, Trenton is benefiting in the sense that you can get more house for your dollar in Trenton oftentimes. And now in these days of working from home, many people are priced out of markets in other parts of New Jersey where, the median house sale is now around $400,000, whereas Trenton, the median house sale is still in the mid 100s. So you can buy more house for your dollar, and if you are working from home, it's still a viable place to do that. You can probably buy a house and still afford to do significant upgrades to your backyard or whatever else amenities you want in your house. So anyway, again, just to pivot it to a look, I think you can look at that, and then again, I think there was another example you had given, which there was a transit center, and there was another thing too. Was it arts and you were talking about people traveling to destinations, right? Yeah, that's a good point too. And I think that's the thing that bothers me about that aspect. And again, people should be able to travel wherever they want and enjoy their lives. So I don't have any problem with people doing that. However, the reason why people are not staying, I think, is decades of inequity, really, because many of the places where people would travel. So you want to go travel to hear the symphony play, or you want to, now Trenton does have a symphony that's getting off the ground, but you want to go to the opera, you can't really do that in Trenton. So that's because of decades of disinvestment, right?
No. I mean, I'm not talking about anything that's a heavy lift. All I'm saying to you is that, I'm looking at other cities that are, in the same positions as us, but they just seem to have a vision, and they seem to operate on a different time zone. That why can't we just say, Wednesday through Sunday in the downtown area, we're just going to do pop-up shops. We're going to invite artists from all over the country or all over the East Coast or just from Mercer County just to come down and to set up shop on the lawns, on the sidewalks, and we're just going to have movies and music and just do these things. I mean, that's not a heavy lift. That's what I'm saying. I mean, that is so simple, and I know that this past weekend, they had some things going on with the Big Easy. They had some things going on with the Smokehouse, and I'm saying if you could allow that to be replicatable every weekend, I think that becomes the impetus to drive folks here, because that's not a heavy lift to drive your car downtown to Trenton to listen to different forms of music and to see different forms of art right on the sidewalk. That's not a heavy lift. That's $5-10. But that's all.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with you, but at the same time, again, I think it's important not to sound alarmist, because I was downtown Trenton on Saturday. I had a really good time, and there was quite a lot going on. I was at the Mill Hill Garden Tour, which was a really nice event. It was just such an oasis. I mean, you had 25 homeowners who had volunteered to open up their gardens, which they had obviously lovingly put a lot of work into doing plantings and grooming. And it was a volunteer effort by a local organization called the Old Mill Hill Society, where for $20 you get your ticket, you get a map, and then you can walk around and check out all the gardens. And it was really, really cool. And it was a nice social event too, because there was a very diverse set of homeowners. A lot of people had art set up in their gardens as well. Mm-hmm. So there was that. And then I went downtown. There was something going on called Taste Trenton, which was like almost Trenton Restaurant Week kind of a thing, where Bernard McMullen and a nice group of people on the committee had put together a list of 39 different restaurants in Trenton, all of whom were participating and had special menus. And for $10 you get a ticket, and then you get a different map showing all the different restaurants all over the city, and you can go around. They have specials, you get special discounts and stuff like that, and check out different cuisines. And you could that was going on from the 10th to the 12th, so Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that was again like really something cool to do. And then and then I'm walking downtown to go to one of the restaurants on the Taste Trenton, and over at the Masonic Temple, there's this whole conference going on, like a podcasting conference with people who were from all over who had come in for this, and that was really cool too. So that was a real destination on a Saturday. So I guess my point is there is stuff going on, and it's interesting. It's interesting stuff. It's definite, and it's quality. It's quality stuff. Yes. And part of it is just a matter of getting the support, and I think that it's a matter of marketing. It's a matter of getting the word out about some of these things, because there are things to do, and it's just, I think it's taking a little bit of time to build up that critical mass where it has the same vibe as a bigger city. And we don't want to necessarily copy a bigger city, because Trenton is a smaller city, but I think there are things to do, and this weekend was a good example of it.
Oh no, I'm not. By no means am I trying to sound like an alarmist, and I agree that there's a lot of stuff to do, and we need to do more marketing. But I'm just saying that every weekend, while the weather is in our favor, we need to really be, almost doing activities such as the ones that you may mention too. Now, just to ask,
for sure,
you being a developer as well, what is your 30-second pitch? To people that you're trying to encourage to be in Trenton? What's your 30-second pitch that you use or you share with them to say Trenton should be your next hub or your next place of business?
Well, I guess it depends a little bit on what we're marketing here.
Just in
You're
general.
saying in general about, yeah, I think the first thing I would do is, okay, so Kevin, what are you looking for? What are you looking for? What kind of business do you have? I need to find out, what they're looking for and what kind of business they have. That's the first question. Try to listen, start with listening, and see where the opportunity may lie. And I think that's, any kind of successful interaction, there's got to be a level of understanding, and sort of a human side to it, where you understand what your fellow human is interested in and what's motivating them. That's really the first thing. And then from there, I can kind of get a sense for what their capabilities may be, again. So if you give me an example, I do deal with everything from homeowners that are looking to move to the city,
yes,
to people who are experienced operating entrepreneurs, who know how to manage businesses, in which case they're going to be very tuned in to the the size of the location that they're looking for, the zoning, the parking, the demographics near that area, the other businesses and developments that are nearby, and so those are some of the things that I would tune into to the rent amount, the cost of renovation needed
Gotcha.
to make it work for their business. So if I'm talking like a management entrepreneur, I'd be kind of tuned into some of those things.
Gotcha.
And then, I also deal with, housing developers. So if I'm dealing with someone that's looking to build more housing, then I guess, first of all, I'm trying to understand whether they're looking for to build something with an affordable housing mix, or whether it's a market rate development. And then I'm wondering whether they want to just do a small renovation, or if they want to scale, do something with some scale where they have a certain number of units, and get a sense for their capacity. And those are some of the questions I would be asking to a housing developer, that I would work with.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's interesting. Again, getting back to what gets me up in the morning. It's so fascinating to find out what makes people tick and what their what interests them. And again, I feel like, as far as Trenton goes, as long as I can figure out what they're looking for,
yes,
I can definitely sell them Trenton.
Okay.
You know what I mean? But I have to, I gotta kind of get into their head a little bit more first, and just see what they're really looking for, and then I can know what part of Trenton would be the best part to offer them.
Gotcha. Now, Roland, a lot of folks may not know this, and I think oftentimes we talk. I'd like to go old school with you, and I remember when you started the Conduit, which was a musical venue, which was a small musical venue that I enjoyed. I mean, have you ever thought about trying to do something like that again, or trying to look for folks that would be willing to open up something similar?
Yeah, I think that one of the things about and Conduit was really a nightclub and it was designed around being a live music venue. We offered a lot of national touring acts that came through from Bob Marley's group, the Wailers, to Dr. John, to tons of touring acts, the Disco Biscuits and Ween, and so that was designed around that. And then we also had some high energy dance club nights that we would have as well. And I think that, for venues like that, I would love to do something like that again, or work with someone. It's got to be right sized to the market, and the trends are always changing in that. I mean, if you look at Atlantic City, for example, the venues change. The successful venues change. Right now, Hard Rock is what seems to be getting like a lot of great headliners.
Yes.
But even in New York City, the venues change, trends change. So I think that, again, the key thing is to kind of gain an understanding of what's going on in the market for live music. There's also, and whether people want to be hanging out in larger crowds or in smaller crowds. I get there sometimes trends shift from, being more of a big venue to like more of a lounge venue. So, it's really important to have your finger on the pulse as far as what those go. And it's fascinating, to kind of, be able to adapt to those trends. That's part of the fun of it. I would definitely love to work. I mean, there are some challenges in Trenton in particular about those kind of venues. And I think getting maybe to part of the heart of some of your questions about, what can we do, to bring out arts and entertainment in Trenton. I mean, Trenton, one thing to make a venue successful is you have to be able to do liquor sales. It's very hard to make it, unless it's a huge venue, it's very hard to make it just on ticket sales. And to be honest, part of the reason why Hard Rock in Atlantic City gets so many great acts is because they also have the gambling money coming in, so they can afford to take bigger risks on acts, partly because they know that some of those customers are going to go and gamble as well. So that's a benefit, that's a bonus that they get that we don't have in Trenton. But even in Trenton, the liquor license law, there's a law about the proximity between venues. And so for a new license to be located or to move a license to a location, it can't be within 1,000 feet of an existing, license. And so not only do you have the barrier to entry of, acquiring a license, but on top of that, you have that law, which makes it challenging. So I think that we have to get with our city council people, our local legislators, people that create the local ordinances, and huddle with them and kind of think creatively about how we can do that. Obviously, we have to be careful in nightclub venues because if they're not managed properly, that you can have fights and so on, and that's a valid concern. It's a valid concern. So we have to figure out like how to best manage that and make sure we get quality venues. That was in fact part of the reason why I phased the nightclub side out of Conduit. It's just because when I was moving on and starting a family and stepping back from the operation, it was hard to without being there all the time. It was hard to stay completely on top of everything. So I decided to just bring it back to being a restaurant over there as opposed to a full nightclub. And when there's food involved, when people are eating, dining, it takes the risk way down in terms of the operations. So it's just those are some thoughts on it, and I think that it definitely can be done. But and it's good that you got this podcast because it helps all of us to keep tabs on the trends of what's going on, what's hot, because you let us hear from some of the people that are creating the ideas and forming the trends.
Well, Roland, thank you. But as they say, from your lips to God's ears, I need more people to listen to the podcast, or certainly when they do hear an episode that they will tag their friends and say, hey, there's a great conversation. But one of the reasons why I created the podcast was I wanted to get the unabridged story from the entrepreneur, because oftentimes you are in such a hurry, not meaning you, but just entrepreneurs and people in general, that we really just don't know what made you who you are. And so I try to invite entrepreneurs, both on the international, local, and national level, just to come on the podcast and tell us about your unabridged story as to who is Roland. And in this case, we're talking about that. Now, the other question I wanted to ask you is, what are some of the challenges that we need to work through in order for Trenton to, and I know that's a big question, but in order for Trenton to really experience this turnaround, right? Do you think crime is an issue? Do you think homelessness is an issue? Do you think low wage opportunities are issues in this area that might be a challenge for us?
Yeah. So in terms of some of the issues that Trenton needs to tackle, I do think that you know, crime is something that needs to be addressed. I think that the Trenton, police has done a really good job to stay on top of it, and they're working, really hard. But it is something that people do consider the question of safety, public safety, and oftentimes it's personally, I live in Trenton, and I don't feel unsafe.
Yes.
And part of that is because I realize that, unfortunately, some of the violence you hear a lot, right? This is the vast majority of the violence you hear about in the papers, or is sort of sadly, drug on drug, or youth, misguided youth that have that are fighting over turf, or those kinds of things, or folks that haven't learned how to de-escalate violence that just gets out of hand.
Yes.
And so that's the vast majority. But it still is a concern because a stray bullet can hit anybody, and no violence is good violence. But the other thing is, we need to keep paying some attention to the nuisance issues too, because when you're visiting the town for the first time, you do want to be able to walk down the street and not get bothered. And you constantly see at the exits to this is every city, but it's not a good look. You constantly see folks panhandling and homeless folks with signs, and they're coming up to windows asking for money at every exit off the highway in Trenton. And it's tough because that can be disturbing to have to see someone in that situation, and so those are, and I guess that leads to another issue, is just simply poverty. The level of poverty in Trenton is unacceptable, and we need to find some more ways to help folks, get them trained, get them back to work, and then sort of disrupt this cycle of one generation to the next, not necessarily getting through school, getting their high school diploma, getting into college, and doing the things that they need to do to kind of raise their level of income in their households. So that's something that I think we need to focus on. Again, not unique to Trenton, but we could look at some of the same trends in many parts of the country where there's more poverty, and I think that we have to keep building bridges, between Trenton is the urban core in a very wealthy area. The Princeton region is incredibly wealthy, and there need to be more bridges between the communities that possess more wealth in this area and Trenton. And I think part of that is just getting folks to visit and to see that there's good things to do in Trenton. There's an interesting place to be around. There's a lot of history, and so the poverty is a big detractor, and the fact that the household income is not what it needs to be able to get the stores to locate is part of that cycle too, because you got to get the household income, but the retailers will follow that.
Yeah. Now I've got it's not a curious question, but it's just a innovative thought, right? So it's two part. So those shipping containers, right?
Yep.
There's been a lot of conversations around shipping containers, and creatively, do you think you could do something with those shipping containers where we could? And I know a lot of cities, particularly in New Jersey, they have done that, where they've taken some of these shipping containers and they've created like homeless villages where people can stay up to a year, and they provide on-ground services for those folks. That would be a wonderful idea. The other idea would be have you thought about teaming up with some of our minority contractors and going deep into the neighborhoods where you guys would take a block of, say, 5 to 10 houses and at one time rehab all of those houses so that that whole neighborhood, that whole street can be rehabbed more efficiently? So those are just the two things I was thinking about. So not only a private-public venture, but also using your clout and your ability to work with some of our minority contractors and developers to do projects like that as well. I think that those would be things that I would like to see happen, and I'd be interested in trying to work on those with you. Not that I can hold a good hammer, but I can hold a lunchbox.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for development projects that I'm working on, I always really try to work locally and work with minority contractors and keep it's much better when the money stays local, because
Absolutely.
What comes around goes around, and it raises all the boats. The rising tide raises all boats. So that's definitely the way to go. I think that and then also contractors build more capacity the more work they get. So it allows, whatever profits they can make from jobs they're doing locally, they can reinvest, some of those back into their business, get more equipment, get more tools, get more staff, and take on bigger projects. That's what it's all about. So growing together is, I think, the name of the game. And then, as far as the shipping container idea, that's an interesting one. And I think that it's really, I think, a design Rubik's Cube in many ways. I know a lot of architects have put thought in this, and sometimes they have like competitions, shipping container competitions, and they, in many shipping type areas, port areas, this comes up because there's always an abundance of extra containers depending on whatever trade imbalances may be going on globally at a given time.
Mm-hmm.
The shipping containers stack up, and then what do you do with them? So I think it's a fascinating idea. And the other thing about it is, now with the cost of steel being so high due to inflation and the war, and fortunately the price of gas and other things that are happening in the global economy, steel is very expensive. And so if you have a excess of shipping containers, potentially you could use some of them, you're essentially saving a lot of materials, and
Absolutely.
that's less building material that needs to be purchased. So that's a great idea. I have never tried to work with shipping containers myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I would probably lean on, our architect friends to kind of help figure out that puzzle, because the economic factors are all there.
Yeah.
But then there's the questions of, how do you insulate them well, and how do you connect them? What kind of penetrations do you put in them to make good natural light, and those kinds of things? And that's where, you and I know some really good architects that can probably solve that problem. We can put the deal together.
Well, let's just put them on blast. John Hatch.
For sure, yeah.
And this would be a wonderful public-private venture that would, I think this would, man, we can knock out 5 people at one time, so we can do the art, we can do the entertainment, we can do the private-public venture, we can get the city involved, and then you would also take some local contractors and maybe get some of the homeless people, right, to help even build this container village. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud, but that would be a slam dunk, right?
That would be awesome. That would be great.
Who would not want to live in Trenton after they saw that everybody is working together and nobody has a problem? I want to ask this question, Roland. Within your company, do you ever do like internships or hire people? Not so much hire, but do you do internships?
I'm definitely open to that. I have done a couple of internships over time. I've had people from TCNJ, Ryder, Mercer County Community College, and that's worked out pretty well. One of the things that I think is important with interns is, figuring out how much time they have, what their interests are, what they're looking to accomplish and learn, and then coming up with some specific tasks that they can do that advance those goals so that they can learn. Because an internship goes quickly. If you have a student that's maybe off for the summer and is willing and can come and do 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week or even 3 hours a week, depending on what their situation is going to be, it's so important to have something set up for them where they're going to learn and they're going to get something out of it and they're going to get something done for the business. And it's a positive experience for everybody. So I think I'm totally open to that.
Okay.
And I think some of the things that I'm focused on right now, again, our marketing. I just set up a new real estate brokerage company called Pott Real Estate LLC, which was licensed by the state of New Jersey in March. And so I've been getting some new listings in that brokerage company and set up a new website called PottRealtors.com, where I have information about the company and about the listings. And so there's a lot that can be done from a marketing perspective along those lines. And then, of course, there's when you're managing properties and have a portfolio, there's always maintenance work to be done. So
Absolutely.
That's another thing that I can always use help with. But again, once you get into maintenance work, you have to figure out what level of skills people have and what they're able to do. But internships are a great way for people to learn.
Absolutely. Listen, Roland, with the time that we have left, anything that you want to share with the listening audience about your development, your love for the city of Trenton, anything? The time is now yours.
Maybe I'll put in a little. I'll talk a little bit about an organization that's that I've put a lot of volunteer time into over the last couple of years, which is the Trenton Downtown Association. The Trenton Downtown, I think it's relevant because we've spoken quite a bit today about downtown and Trenton and how to revitalize the city. And the Trenton Downtown Association is a business improvement district. So it's a not-for-profit organization that receives some funding in terms of a special improvement district tax from the commercial property owners who own commercial property downtown. They pay an extra tax, and that goes to the Trenton Downtown Association, which then employs local people to help keep the streets clean, pick up litter, change out the trash containers, do plantings, help pitch in with maintaining the downtown park and other planters around the downtown, and they'll also help with some security issues. We have an off-duty police that's employed, contracted with Trenton Downtown Association. So really focusing on a lot of these quality of life improvements and enhancements, and also marketing the downtown too. We have an active web presence with social media, which promotes some of the good things going on, helps with ribbon cuttings of new businesses that open, and also we're co-presenting the Levitt concert series this summer with the African American Cultural Collaborative of Mercer County, which is also the group that presents the Juneteenth celebration in Mill Hill Park.
There's that music entertainment again. See,
That's right. So it's right to your point. It's crucial to give people good entertainment offerings, give people a reason to come downtown, and so TDA is helping to support that. And excited to be working. And so my involvement with TDA is I've been volunteering as a board member, currently chairing the board and helping to to kind of oversee, along with other board members, these various programs.
Yes.
And it's been cool to see some of these things take place, and I think Trenton Downtown Association plays a crucial role in improving the downtown and making it, clean and safe, and hopefully over time we'll continue to help with some more redevelopment that happens in the downtown.
Hey, Roland, I'm sorry, and you can always tell me to shut up, but what just came to my mind was, I think as we were prepping for this, you were telling about the other project that you were working on with the cannabis. Can we talk about that or no?
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
Tell us about the cannabis project.
Yeah, well, so this is going to be I think a major shift for Trenton. As you probably know, the state has opened up licensing for recreational cannabis dispensaries, as well as several other kinds of cannabis businesses,
yes,
which will now be legal and licensed by the state of New Jersey. And Trenton has passed an ordinance allowing 10 licenses to be issued in the town. And so there have been a number of applications, I believe, submitted to the state, and I've got a group coming into a building at 110 South Warren Street that I'm in the process of renovating.
Yes.
And right next to the Starbucks, right there in Warren Street. And this is a group called Smooth Roots, which is a mix of local people, including Eddie Salzman, Liad El-Natiri, and others. And so we've applied for a license, and we're hoping to be successful at obtaining one and locating it at that location. And I guess big picture on cannabis and sort of what some of the promise is that it holds for the downtown, in my view, is that it's a way that there'll be another kind of business, another draw that will bring people into the downtown, more jobs,
yes,
a new industry to employ more people. In particular, in Trenton, it's a way that the community here, which is largely Black and brown people, can get more equity in a new industry. And in fact, the way the state has set up the application system, there's actually extra points in your application for having local ownership, and there's no demerits for past offenses related
yes,
to cannabis possession, which again, if there's affected African American people overly much
yes,
in the past. So I think that for a number of reasons, I think this new industry could help Trenton and tip the scales in our favor a bit. And it'll be a fascinating time, I think, over the next few years, because, as it becomes legit and licenses are legal, it's going to become much more of a professional industry, right? Where
absolutely,
there'll be training for people, there'll be certifications, and people can actually go to school and
yes,
learn about, health benefits and so on and so forth. And I think that will professionalize it, and again, give people more opportunities to work their way up in an industry where there'll be a lot of money to be made.
absolutely.
So yeah, that's just a little bit about what's going on in cannabis. So I'm excited for that to roll out.
There's that downtown again, arts and entertainment, right? So okay.
Yep, yeah, absolutely. And it's arts and entertainment hand in hand with different kinds of business, right?
Yes.
So it's again another reason for people to be down there. If giving people multiple shopping options,
yes,
and giving people multiple reasons, because people don't come for just one thing. They want to go and dine, they want to go do other things. So and then once they really see that they can have a good time and they're enjoying it, then they also want to live near the action too.
Now, will the facility be able to have a lounge, or you just have to pick up your product and go?
Right now, there's that part. The lounge idea is not allowed under the current legislation the way they have it
Yes.
set up right now. So no, this would be more of just in the store, the Smooth Roots store that we plan to put into 110 South Warren. that's more of just a sort of it'll be cool and well designed and artsy. But it will also be similar to like a nice pharmacy or a nice retail store in the sense that it'll be clean, professional. You come in, you shop, you speak with well trained staff that are there to help you, and then you head out. And then so that's the idea for the store there.
Okay, fantastic. Listen, we've talked so much, Roland. Can you give everyone your contact number? Your email. Well, how can people be in touch with you, Roland?
Sure. Yeah. The best way is probably to go to pottrealtors.com, POTTREALTORS.com, and you can also always call me. I'll give out my number right here, 609-638-1367. And it's the best way to be in touch with me. And I thank you for having me on the show. I enjoy the show. You've got so many interesting people on. So thanks for providing that service and introducing people and giving us listeners a chance to learn.
Absolutely, Roland. You, my friend, always a pleasure. Thank you. So let's talk and text later on. And just continued success with all of your projects. And, I'm always here if we need to, if you need me as a sounding board.
Thank you, Kevin. I appreciate that. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. It's a pleasure. I'm glad we've gotten a chance to keep in touch and work together for so many years, because I think it's been decades at this point. So I really appreciate the relationship.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk in a minute.
Talk to you soon. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That concludes another episode of The Entrepreneurial Enclave with Kevin Wortham, the podcast that focuses on building, maintaining, pivoting, planning, and investing in you, the entrepreneur. We hope you found this episode informative and enlightening. If you have any questions or comments about any of our episodes, please call 609-731-9311 or email kevin@minding-our-business.com. We look forward to joining us for our next one. Until next time.